Welcome to the Zono Sports Show. I'm your host, Alonzo Jones, and you know Zonos. Now, today we'll be discussing a few different things. We have thus far discussed our Heisman hopefuls, as well as players to look out for, comeback player of the year, newcomer of the year. Today we'll be discussing some simplistic things about the season that everybody wants to talk about once we get deeper in the season as we do progress. The college football playoff for 2017. Yes, it is the fall shindig. Now, the reason I call it the fall shindig, we got to have some type of name for that party because we can't call it March Madness. This is not college basketball, although Zoe does know about that as well, and we will get to that soon, but not quite yet. Today, we'll be discussing what I think will realistically happen towards the end of the season regarding the college football playoff, my college football playoff productions this week on Zonos. Historically, now let's just give you a little bit of history lesson. Let's back up a little bit. This is obviously the third annual college football playoff. The first two were won 2015 by Ohio State and 2016 by Alabama. Now, I will tell you this, just a fun fact with this being the third annual college football playoff, you got to chill because Big 12, chill. And the reason I pause and stop is because they have no championship game in their conference, okay? So that's one we can go ahead and sweep under the rug. Big 12, you got to chill out. You guys don't have a conference championship game. However, you do have the opportunity to make some noise with that playoff committee as long as you do have a great season and win out because they do play a round-robin style within that conference. Also, Ohio State, they won it in 2015. I mentioned that a moment ago. Their early loss that year was to Virginia Tech at home. Virginia Tech, they actually didn't end the season with a great team. They went in there, got that Ohio State team, had a bad season for the duration of the year. Ohio State then went on to win all of their games under Urban Meyer, end up in the national championship, end up in the playoff, had a great showing against Alabama, as well as blew out Wisconsin with a 60 bone. So they put themselves in great position to go ahead and beat Mr. Marcus Mariota in that 2015 college football inaugural season for the playoff. Also, Alabama last year, they did atone for that misstep they had against Ohio State the previous year. They had an early home loss last year, to Ole Miss in 2015. That was Chad Kelly as the quarterback, comes into Bryant Denny, throws a lot of touchdown passes. Laquan Treadwell goes off, and Kim Dichie shows why he was a top draft pick this year, regardless of the stuff that happened off the field as far as incidents and miscues. Great football player. Just saw him on TV with Arizona. Looked good tonight, by the way. Now, Alabama, if you want to go back to last season, they had that early loss. September 19th, I want to say, on a Saturday, third Saturday in September to Ole Miss. However, their last four games, they played Charleston Southern, Auburn, Florida, and Michigan State before they had to play Clemson in the championship last year. So, as you can see, they had a little bit of a stroll down bum alley or bum avenue because, let's face it, a lot of those teams, not great teams towards that point in the season. Michigan State was okay last year, but they showed that they were not supposed to even be on the field with Alabama. And Charleston Southern, FCS opponent, Auburn, Jeremy Johnson wasn't the quarterback we thought he was going to be coming to the season, so they had a funny year. Florida, no defense last year. You got Treon Harris, basically a point guard back there running your offense at quarterback. He was the quarterback for Florida last year where they had that abysmal offense and they had the outstanding defense, which made the SEC championship closer than what it should have been simply because of the defense. Now, my four teams that I like in the college football playoff, my top team, honestly, going into the college football playoff, I've got to say it'll be Tennessee. Now, the reason I say that is because I look at their schedule. They've got 3 games in the middle of the schedule, at Georgia, at Texas A&M, play Alabama at home. Those are all 3 winnable games. They may lose one. If they win all 3 of those, the last half of their schedule is not particularly hard. I think they can win the SEC championship against the eventual opponent, which I will think should be LSU. So they'll make it probably 12-1. They'll make it to the college football playoff. And my number 2 team that I've got reaching the playoff is Clemson. Now, of course, Deshaun Watson coming back as a junior, he will be having an outstanding, presumptuously outstanding senior year for Clemson at quarterback. He was a Heisman hopeful. He did have a great team last year. They did make a national championship and a playoff appearance last year. I expect Clemson to come back fully loaded. They may absorb that loss to Florida State like I've mentioned in previous episodes. However, I do think Clemson will be the team to emerge from the ACC and make noise when it's time to make it. Now, the third team that I do foresee in the college football playoff, Oklahoma. I think they are hands down the best Big 12 team in that conference. You got Baylor. They just lost their head coach with all the sexual misconduct issues and allegations surrounding that program, Art Browse. That was going to be a stiff competitor for them. Don't think they'll be able to compete with Oklahoma on that scale this year. Oklahoma State may give them some type of pushback in the battle for Bedlam. However, I'm not sure how that game will go either. Baker Mayfield, Heisman hopeful. He's returning. He was a Heisman finalist last year. I do see magic in him. That's in the third spot. Now in our fourth spot, a little bit of a surprise. Hail to the victors, valiant Michigan Wolverines. I like Coach Harbaugh. That little Jordan Jumpman on that uniform, I know I talked about it, but hey, I would wear it. I would like it. Also, the fact that they landed that number one recruit, Rashawn Gary, at defensive tackle. He can play defensive end as well. I do think that they'll be somebody to be reckoned with. They may take one loss, possibly to Michigan State, possibly to Ohio State. I do see them coming out of the Big Ten, playing in that Big Ten championship, winning that game, and making it to the playoff. I don't see them being matched up with Tennessee simply because playoff committee, they don't want to see Clemson versus Oklahoma in the playoff once again. I would think they wouldn't want to see that just because you have those two. You want to see a little bit of variety in the playoffs. So I think they would make Michigan the 4 seed just because of that. However, even though Tennessee and Oklahoma did play last year, it was a dramatic finish. I do think they would place Tennessee up against Oklahoma just to have that variety in the playoff, and I have a back-to-back semifinal with Clemson playing Oklahoma again. That wouldn't make any sense to me. Now, for my national championship, my two teams that I do think will compete in the national championship, going heads up together, Clemson and Tennessee. I do like both teams. I think they've got strong defenses. Clemson, they've got Ben Bower at linebacker. He's coming back from last year's team. Great player. Mackenzie Alexander, he's in the NFL playing for the Vikings right now. I'm not sure how that secondary will be for Clemson this year. We will have to see. They have a history of sometimes getting gashed. They have a lot of All-Americans back there every year, but sometimes they do get gashed. Tennessee, I do like them on the front line. I love their offensive line. I love Chance Hall, offensive tackle, great offensive tackle. I do love Derek Barnett at defensive end as well. Also, I love their running backs, Jalen Hurd and Alvin Kamara. Cream soda, love them. And their quarterback, Josh Dobbs, he's no Deshaun Watson, but I think with him being older, him having that experience and being in the fire for a long time, for 4 years, he'll be a senior this year, he's got to prove, can he take his team and his game to the next level, because Tennessee goes as Josh Dobbs goes. The program's grown underneath him. However, because of his play that's stifled and been stagnant at times, the program has suffered as such. A 9-4 finish last year could have easily went 13-0. I do think Tennessee will beat Clemson simply because I think there's just something going on down there in Knoxville this year. They've got a lot of buzz around that program. They've got a rich football history. I think Tennessee can beat Deshaun Watson. Even though Deshaun Watson's been there 2 years in a row, I do see this maybe ending in some heartbreak, such as Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush's season did end when the old Vince Young horse came into town and did what he did as a Longhorn. Now, our coaches to watch this year. Okay, our coach on the clock, Lovie Smith. I do think Lovie Smith should do great at Illinois. That program hasn't been great the last few years. They brought in a professional football coach, Lovie Smith. He's coached in the Super Bowl. He's got that NFL experience. Also, you'd think coaching for the Chicago Bears, he may have some kind of hand in Chicago recruiting. Kids there may have been Bears fan growing up. They will feel more compelled, to go to a school like Illinois simply because it's in-state and you've got Lovie Smith, your old Bears coach, coaching for them. Why not go play for a guy like that? Also, Jim Groves at Baylor. I want to see what you got to do, man. What you're going to do. Because, Jim, let's face it, at Wake Forest, you didn't have outstanding winning seasons. You had maybe great academic athletes, student athletes. However, in the Big 12 country, especially at a school like Baylor, they want to win. So Jim Groves, are you going to bring the Wake Forest results with you, or are you going to bring the Wake Forest ethics and leave the results there? Because Baylor's a winning program. Let's see what you do there. Also, coaches to watch. Will Muschamp at South Carolina. They finished the season 3-9 last year. I don't see South Carolina being outstanding this year. Will Muschamp, who did you hire as your offensive coordinator? Because at Florida, it was bad. So, Will, we've got to see what you're going to do on the offensive side of the ball at South Carolina, because I did see you just got a big cornerback there, Jamias Williams, I think, just committed from Grayson High School. He'll be playing there next year. Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech, Memphis guy. You had a great season last year with Paxton Lynch, NFL quarterback, great defense last year. You're stepping up into Power 5 Conference, ACC. It's a big difference, sir. Virginia Tech, whole lot different program than Memphis. Okay, Frank Beamer ball, that's serious in Blacksburg. Let's see what you bring to the table. Also, a seat that's hot. Charlie Strong at Texas. Now, you've had steady progress at the program. You've tried to build it. They've given you time. This will be your third year, Charlie. I do think you should have stayed at Louisville. However, we will see if Texas can get some key wins this year. You got a big game coming up against Notre Dame. Let's see what you guys can do against that team. Jared Hurd, let's see what's going to happen. Tyrone Swoops, let's see what's going to happen. Texas, you got to win. Make some noise this year. I don't think Charlie Strong will be there too much longer, okay? Now, today, our number three-piece dinner box of questions. We will not be doing that today. I'm going to do things a little bit different because we are close to the season. We've got games on Thursday night. I cannot wait. We just had a preview, a snippet with Cal in Hawaii, but we got the real deal coming up Thursday night. Our kickoff with a whole evening worth of games, which we'll talk about on Thursday. This is just simply a tribute to my father. He passed away from stage 4 lung cancer in January 2015. The one thing I will say about this, football takes 3 things. It takes leadership, strength, and toughness. And you have to be a leader on and off the field. You have to show strength, physical strength, and put in that work ethic, put in that time in the weight room, as well as on the field, have strong play, have a sound mind, and toughness. You have to have physical and mental toughness, because there's different things in football that come up on and off the field, and you have to learn how to block all that stuff out. And when it counts, can you be there? Can you deliver for your teammates? And in tough times on the field, can you clutter and cloud everything out so you can just hone in on what the ultimate goal is, which is to get a win? Now, I will say that my father embodied all 3 of those characteristics. Great football coach, 3-time All-American at Murray State University. And I do look forward to the season. I look forward to celebrating it. This is a celebration. I always told my father that I would get this show up and running, and I'm proud to say that this is something that I am able to do and be proud about it, because I told him that I would do it. So, Dad, if you're watching, thank you so much for believing in me always, and this is just the start, old man, as I would say. Now, next time, on which will be Wednesday morning, we'll be talking about some Thursday night matchups that we got going on, and also we'll talk about some Saturday matchups, our popcorn preview. So please tune in on Wednesday morning for the next airing of the Zoe Knows Sports Show, where you know Zoe knows. You all take care.